The grand hall of the Galactic Council was filled with a strange light. Tall crystal pillars reached high into the ceiling, and glowing patterns floated in the air like living stars. Representatives from hundreds of alien species sat in their places, each one proud, each one convinced of their own greatness. Their voices rose together, not in debate, but in laughter. The target of their mockery was not a rival empire, not a dangerous enemy, but a small and young species that had only recently stepped into the stars. That species was humanity. A thin alien with silver skin leaned forward and spoke with sharp amusement. "Humans," he said, "so fragile, so short-lived, so soft. They are nothing but children in a galaxy of giants." His words caused the chamber to echo with laughter. Another alien, a creature with 4 eyes and a crown of bone horns, added, "Their planet is not even dangerous anymore. Once they had mighty beasts called dinosaurs, but even those are long dead. Their strongest protectors could not even survive their own world. What hope do humans have among the stars?" The laughter grew louder, cruel, and endless. The sound filled the hall like a storm of scorn. Every insult turned into a contest, each alien trying to outdo the other with sharper words, harsher jokes. They called humans soft clay, cosmic children, and a mistake of evolution. In their arrogance, they forgot that a human delegate was sitting among them, silent and still. He sat in his seat at the far end of the chamber, his hands folded, his eyes steady. Unlike the others, he did not laugh. Unlike the others, he did not speak yet. His expression was calm, almost too calm, and that calmness made a few nearby aliens uneasy. But the laughter was too loud for anyone to notice. A winged alien with golden feathers spread his arms wide and said, "The Council should not fear humans. Their weapons are toys, their bodies are weak, and their history is filled with failure. They cannot even protect their own planet's creatures. They talk of greatness, yet their giants have already turned to dust." The hall shook with more laughter. Some representatives pounded their tables in amusement, others clapped their hands, and still others leaned back in smug comfort. For them, humans were nothing but a joke. Yet the human did not rise to anger. He did not shout or defend his people with words. He simply watched. He listened. And inside, he remembered. He remembered Earth's long history, the struggle of humanity to rise from caves to cities, from stone tools to machines that touched the stars. He remembered the bones of giants buried deep in the ground, silent proof that Earth had once been ruled by monsters more powerful than any alien could imagine. He remembered what humans had done with those bones. Slowly, when the laughter reached its peak, the human delegate finally stood. The hall grew a little quieter, more out of curiosity than respect. His voice was calm, steady, and without fear. "You speak of our weakness," he said. "You speak of our past. You laugh at the death of our giants. You think we are nothing." He paused, his eyes moving across the room, meeting alien gaze after alien gaze. "But you forget one truth. You forget what it means to be human." The laughter died a little more. Some aliens frowned, confused by his calm words. A few leaned forward, curious. The human did not raise his voice, yet every word carried across the chamber like a steady drum. "We do not forget our past. We remember. We carry it with us. And while you mock us for the death of our giants, you should ask yourselves one question." His lips curved into the faintest of smiles, not of joy, but of certainty. The chamber held its breath. What if our giants never stayed dead? Silence filled the hall. The words were like a spark in dry wood. Confusion turned into unease. The silver-skinned alien tilted his head, unsure if this was a bluff or a threat. The horned creature shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The golden-feathered one narrowed his eyes, as if trying to see through the human's calm mask. The human's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, not from any trick, but from pure determination. He sat back down without another word, letting the silence hang heavy in the air. For the first time, the council was not laughing. They did not know if the human spoke in madness, in arrogance, or in truth. But deep inside, Each of them felt a small, sharp needle of fear. If the words were true, if humans had indeed found a way to wake their dead monsters, then the galaxy had underestimated them in the most dangerous way possible. The laughter was gone now. Only silence remained. And in that silence, the seed of doubt began to grow. Far away from the grand hall of the Galactic Council, hidden deep beneath the mountains of Earth, there was a secret place known only to a few humans. It was not marked on any map, and no satellite could see it. The entrance was disguised as nothing more than stone and forest, but behind that stone was a world of steel and light. A vast laboratory stretched far underground, built by human hands in silence and secrecy. Inside this hidden base, hundreds of scientists worked day and night. Their faces were pale from lack of sunlight, but their eyes were full of fire. They were not building ships or weapons that the Council could expect. They were working on something older, something far more dangerous. In the deepest chamber of the lab, behind thick glass and layers of security, stood a massive container filled with mist. Strange tubes ran into it, and heavy locks sealed it from the outside world. Every few hours, the ground shook slightly, as if something alive inside the container was testing its prison. The younger scientists often looked at it with fear, but the older ones only nodded with grim pride. They had not created something new. They had brought something back. The leader of the project, an old man with white hair and a voice like steel, gathered his team in the main hall. "The galaxy thinks humans are weak," he said. "They laugh at us, mock us, and say we are children. They forget what our planet once was. They forget who ruled before us." He raised a hand, and the lights dimmed. A large screen lit up behind him, showing images of massive skeletons dug from the earth. Long teeth like knives. Claws longer than a human arm. Skulls that once belonged to kings of predators. The young scientists stared at the images, some in awe, some in fear. The old man continued, his voice steady. 65 million years ago, Earth was not a safe world. It was a battlefield of monsters. The strongest of them were the dinosaurs, creatures so powerful that even the harshest alien worlds would pale beside their fury. Nature tested us long before the stars ever noticed us. That is the legacy we carry. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle in the room. Then his eyes turned to the sealed chamber, and his voice grew quiet. "And now, we will awaken that legacy." The sound of heavy footsteps echoed as the team moved to their stations. Computers beeped, machines whirred, and the glass container glowed with pale blue light. Inside the mist, a shadow moved. At first it was slow, but then it pressed against the glass with shocking force. The chamber walls shook, and the locks hissed as if warning the humans that they had gone too far. One of the younger scientists whispered, "What if we cannot control it?" The old man looked at him with eyes that carried no doubt. "Then it will control the galaxy for us." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the risk. This was not just an experiment. It was a weapon, a symbol, and perhaps the most dangerous gamble humanity had ever made. But none of them stepped back. They had all seen the recordings from the council. They had all heard the laughter. That laughter had burned in their hearts like fire, and it was that fire that fueled this work. Slowly, the shadow inside the container took form. A huge shape pressed closer, and a deep sound like thunder rolled through the room. It was breathing. Heavy, powerful, unstoppable breathing. The scientists froze, listening. For millions of years the sound of that breath had been absent from the earth, but now it returned, shaking their bones with its memory. The old man spoke again, his voice trembling for the first time. "It is awake." The words spread like lightning among the team. Fear mixed with pride, dread mixed with triumph. For a moment, no one moved. They all stared at the chamber, where two glowing eyes now shone through the mist. The creature was alive. The creature was aware. And the creature was watching them. The ground shook once more, stronger this time, and alarms blared across the lab. Guards rushed to the doors, weapons ready, but the old man raised a hand. "Stand down," he said firmly. "It will not harm us. It knows who gave it life." It knows who its masters are. The guards hesitated, but obeyed. The scientists waited, breathless, as the mist began to clear. Slowly, the true shape of the beast revealed itself. Massive claws scraped against the reinforced glass. Rows of sharp teeth glistened in the dim light. Its tail slammed once against the floor, shaking the walls. This was no ordinary dinosaur. Its body was stronger, faster, and sharper than anything that had ever walked Earth before. The scientists had not only revived an ancient monster, they had improved it. They had built something that could rival the greatest predators in the galaxy. The old man looked at it with both fear and pride. "The Council believes we are weak," he whispered. "Let them keep believing. When the time comes, we will show them what human weakness truly looks like." Behind the glass, the creature roared. The sound was deep, violent, and endless. It rolled through the underground halls, shook the steel walls, and filled every human heart with both terror and hope. The galaxy laughed at humanity. But soon, the galaxy would remember why Earth was once ruled by monsters. And this time, those monsters would not fall. The chamber lights dimmed as the mist inside the container began to clear. Every eye in the laboratory was fixed on the massive figure that now moved with slow, deliberate strength. For millions of years, such a creature had not walked the earth, yet here it was, alive again. Its claws scraped against the reinforced walls, leaving deep marks on the unbreakable glass. The sound of its breathing filled the room, heavy and deep, like thunder rolling in a storm. The scientists stood frozen, their hearts pounding in their chests. They had spent years working for this moment, but now that it had come, many felt the weight of what they had unleashed. The beast turned its head slowly, its golden eyes glowing through the mist, watching, studying, understanding. It was no ordinary dinosaur. It was larger, stronger, and sharper than any that had walked in the past. Its muscles rippled under thick skin reinforced by human design. Its teeth glistened like swords, and its movements carried not just raw power, but also intelligence. This was not just nature reborn. This was nature improved by human hands. The old man, leader of the project, stepped forward. His voice was steady though his body trembled. "You hear us," he said softly. "You know us. We brought you back." The beast tilted its head, its breath fogging the glass. The sound it made was not just a growl, but something deeper, something almost like a response. The scientists exchanged nervous glances. One whispered, "It understands." The old man's lips tightened into a grim smile. "Of course it understands. We gave it more than life. We gave it mind." The beast pressed its massive claws against the glass, and the walls shuddered. Alarms blared across the lab, warning of critical pressure. Guards raised their weapons, but the old man lifted his hand. "Do not fire," he commanded. His voice carried the authority of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Slowly, with a hiss of steam and the sound of locks unsealing, the containment chamber began to open. The air grew heavy as the mist poured out, curling across the floor like smoke. The scientists backed away, fear gripping them, but they could not look away. The beast stepped forward, one foot slamming against the ground with such force that dust fell from the ceiling. Each step echoed through the chamber, shaking the hearts of everyone present. Finally, it stood outside its prison, towering over them all. Its shadow stretched across the room like a dark storm cloud. The old man raised his hand and spoke again. "You are ours, and we are yours. Together, we will show the galaxy who humans are." For a moment, the beast was silent. Then, with a sound that shook the earth itself, it roared. The roar was not just noise, it was power, fury, and defiance rolled into one. It was a sound that had not been heard since the age of monsters, now reborn in the heart of human science. The roar ripped through the walls, traveled through the ground, and echoed far beyond the laboratory. Even the stars seemed to tremble at the sound. The scientists covered their ears, overwhelmed by the sheer force of it. Some fell to their knees, while others stood frozen, tears in their eyes. They knew they were witnessing something far greater than themselves. The old man whispered, The Awakening. Far above, in the Galactic Council's Grand Hall, the human delegate sat quietly, his lips curved in the faintest smile. Though the aliens did not know it, the roar had already reached them through hidden channels, a signal prepared by the humans. The sound shook the speakers of the council chamber, startling the arrogant leaders from their laughter. The silver-skinned alien frowned, his voice uncertain. What was that? The horned creature shifted uneasily. It sounded alive. The golden-feathered alien narrowed his eyes, his mocking smile gone. That sound does not belong to machines. That was a predator. The human delegate stood, his calm voice cutting through the council like a blade. You laughed at us. You mocked us. You said our giants were dead. He paused, letting silence hold the chamber. Then his voice dropped lower, filled with quiet certainty. But not all of them. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some aliens shouted in disbelief, others demanded answers, and still others felt a creeping fear spread through their hearts. For the first time, the laughter had turned into silence, and the silence had turned into dread. Back in the underground laboratory, the beast lowered its head, looking directly at the old man. The old man nodded slowly, as if giving an order without words. The beast blinked, then stood tall, its massive form casting a shadow that seemed larger than life itself. The humans had done the impossible. They had awakened a monster from the past, but not just any monster, a monster that was now loyal to them. And in that moment, every person in the lab, every human watching through hidden cameras, understood one truth. Humanity was no longer the weak child of the galaxy. Humanity now carried the roar of its ancient kings. The awakening was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council Hall, once full of laughter, was now filled with silence. The roar that came from the hidden human transmission still echoed in the minds of every alien present. It was not the sound of a machine, not the sound of a weapon, but the sound of something alive, something ancient, something far beyond their control. Many of the council members had traveled across the stars, had seen predators on savage worlds, but none of them had ever heard a sound like this. It shook them, not only in their ears but in their bones, in their very memory of what danger meant. The silver-skinned alien, who had mocked humans most loudly, was the first to break the silence. His voice trembled despite his attempt to sound strong. It is a trick. Humans have created some recording, nothing more. They want to frighten us. Yet even he did not believe his own words. His hands twitched nervously on the table, and his eyes darted to the human delegate who stood calmly at the far side of the hall. The horned alien leaned forward, his deep voice uneasy. That was not a trick. I know predators. That was a predator's cry. His 4 eyes narrowed in thought, but his tail swished back and forth in restless fear. The golden-feathered alien, usually arrogant and loud, now spoke softly, as if afraid that even his words might summon the beast again. If humans have revived one of their monsters, then they have done something no council species has ever dared. To bring back the dead, to give it power again, it is madness. The human delegate raised his head, his face calm, his voice controlled. You call it madness. We call it memory. We do not forget where we come from. We do not forget the power of our world. You mock us for being weak, but weakness does not create what you just heard. His words sank into the chamber like heavy stones. No one laughed. No one dared to. Some aliens whispered to each other, their voices full of fear. What if humans truly had control over such a creature? What if the roar was only the beginning? What if the beast was already on its way? The silver-skinned alien tried once more to stand tall. If this is true, then humans are dangerous not only to us, but to themselves. Such a thing cannot be allowed to exist. We must demand its destruction. But even as he spoke, his voice shook, and he avoided the human's calm eyes. The horned alien turned sharply toward him. And if they refuse, would you fight them, knowing that thing is under their command? His question was like a blade. The silver-skinned alien opened his mouth, but no answer came. The truth was simple. None of them wanted to face such a creature. Even their greatest armies, their most powerful weapons, had never been tested against something like that. They could not predict its strength, its speed, or its fury. The golden-feathered alien shifted in his seat, his wings trembling slightly. We thought humans were only children of the stars. Perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps they are something else entirely. The hall grew darker, as if the weight of fear itself had dimmed the light. The human delegate remained still, letting their fear grow without lifting a hand. He knew the truth. Fear was more powerful than weapons. He did not need to threaten them. The sound of the roar was enough. Far across the stars, in the hidden human laboratory, the beast continued to test its strength. The reinforced walls shook with every step it took, but the scientists did not panic. They watched with controlled awe, recording its movements, learning its behavior. It did not lash out in blind rage. It moved with purpose, as if it already understood its role. It was more than an animal. It was more than a weapon. It was the legacy of Earth, standing alive in the present. Back in the council chamber, the fear spread like fire. Some species began sending messages to their homeworlds, warning them of humanity's hidden strength. Others whispered of alliances, of how they might approach humans not with insults but with respect, maybe even fear. The human delegate finally spoke again, his words sharp and final. You mocked us because you thought we were alone. You mocked us because you believed our strength was gone forever. But we are not alone. And our strength never died. It only slept. Now it has awakened. The hall was utterly silent. No alien dared to speak against him. No alien dared to laugh. Their arrogance had crumbled, and in its place grew doubt, dread, and a new understanding of humanity. The horned alien lowered his head slightly, not in surrender, but in reluctant respect. If what you say is true, then the galaxy has changed this day. The human delegate did not smile. His voice remained calm, almost cold. Yes. The galaxy has changed. And it will continue to change. Remember this. The roar you heard today is only the beginning. Fear settled in the chamber like a heavy fog. The council, once proud and mocking, now sat in silence, their thoughts filled with shadows of sharp teeth, golden eyes, and a roar that promised the return of Earth's ancient kings. The council chamber remained frozen in silence. The echoes of the humans' words still weighed heavy in the air, as if the roar of the awakened beast had followed them into every corner of the grand hall. No alien dared to laugh anymore. No alien dared to speak lightly of humans. The golden-feathered alien shifted uncomfortably, his wings twitching as he stared at the human delegate. For the first time, his proud eyes held doubt. The horned alien leaned forward, his deep voice breaking the silence. You claim this beast is yours, that it obeys you. Show us proof. Show us that you truly control it. His demand was met with murmurs across the hall. Many agreed, though their voices were nervous and unsteady. If humans had created, or revived, such a creature, it was one thing. But if humans truly commanded it, then they were no longer a weak species. They were something far more dangerous. The human delegate stood slowly, his posture calm, his voice low but firm. You want proof? You will have it. With a single motion, he activated a device on his wrist. At once, the screens around the chamber lit up, each one showing a live feed from the hidden laboratory on Earth. The creature stood tall, its massive body filling the camera's view. Its claws scraped against the reinforced floor, and its golden eyes glowed in the dim light. The aliens gasped, some leaning back in shock, others gripping the edges of their seats. The roar they had heard before was no longer just sound, it now had a face, a body, a presence. The council chamber trembled with fear as the beast moved. But then something happened that silenced even the most doubtful. The old man in the laboratory raised his hand, and the beast stopped moving. It lowered its head slightly, its glowing eyes fixed on him as if waiting for a command. He spoke a single word, and the beast obeyed. It moved forward, then back. It crouched low, then stood tall again. Every action precise, every action controlled. This was no wild predator. This was power under command. The human delegate's voice filled the chamber once more. You see it now. It is not chaos. It is not madness. It is our strength, disciplined and loyal. It is the will of humanity made flesh. The horned alien's 4 eyes widened. His people had always respected strength above all, and what he saw now demanded respect. The golden-feathered alien could not look away, his arrogance broken by the sight of something that defied all his pride. Even the silver-skinned alien, who had mocked humanity more than anyone, sat pale and silent, his lips pressed tightly together. The human delegate stepped forward, his voice growing colder. You thought we were weak because our world no longer belonged to monsters. You thought our giants had died. But we do not let the past stay buried. We do not let history chain us. We rise, again and again. And this is our lesson to you: respect is not given. Respect is taken. The words fell on the council like a hammer. Some aliens whispered to one another, already imagining new alliances with humans. Others sat frozen, wondering if their species would survive in a galaxy where humanity wielded such power. The human delegate did not threaten war, yet his calmness was more terrifying than any declaration of battle. The beast on the screen let out another roar, shaking even the reinforced cameras. The sound filled both the lab and the council chamber, a reminder that humanity's shadow now stretched far beyond Earth. The old man in the lab lowered his hand, and the beast fell silent again. The display ended, and the chamber returned to dim silence. The human delegate stood in the center, calm and unshaken. We will not be mocked again. We will not be treated as children. From this day forward, you will remember humanity not for its weakness, but for its strength. You will remember that when we are pushed, we do not break. We evolve. His words spread like fire through the hall. Some council members lowered their heads in shame. Others sat stiff, unsure how to respond. But all of them knew one thing clearly: the balance of the galaxy had shifted. Humanity was no longer at the bottom. They had shown something that could not be ignored, something that could not be laughed away. The horned alien finally spoke, his deep voice softer now, filled with respect. You have proven your strength. The council will no longer call you weak. But know this: strength demands responsibility. If you unleash that creature upon the stars, chaos will follow. The human delegate met his gaze without fear. We are not children. We know the weight of what we hold. And we will carry it. For a long moment, the two stared at each other, predator to predator, species to species. Then the horned alien lowered his head in silent acknowledgement. Around the chamber, the whispers grew. Humanity had taken its stand, not through pleading or argument, but through power. They had shown the galaxy that their legacy was not one of weakness but of survival, of creation, of awakening the past to command the future. The human delegate looked around the hall one last time, his voice calm but filled with steel. The roar you heard today was only a warning. Remember it well. Because next time, it will not be a warning. It will be a promise. The council sat in silence. No one laughed. No one mocked. Humanity had taken its stand, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The council chamber was quiet, so quiet that the faint hum of the floating lights above seemed louder than the voices of 100 alien species. No one dared to move, no one dared to laugh. The image of the beast still burned in their minds, and the calm certainty of the human's words weighed on their hearts heavier than any weapon ever could. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy had listened. The silver-skinned alien, once so arrogant, now sat trembling in his seat. His long fingers tapped nervously on the table, but he could not find the courage to speak. The golden-feathered alien kept his wings folded tightly against his body, his proud eyes lowered. The horned alien remained still, his 4 eyes locked on the human delegate, no longer with mockery, but with respect. He had seen strength, and his kind respected strength above all. The human delegate stood tall in the center of the hall, silent for a long moment as he let their fear sink deeper. Then, when he finally spoke, his words were slow and heavy, as if carved into the air itself. You laughed at us. You mocked us. You said our giants were gone, that we were too small, too weak, too fragile to ever matter. But we remember what you forget. We remember what it means to survive. And we remember that respect is not given. It is taken. His words echoed across the hall. The aliens shifted uneasily, their arrogance broken, their confidence shattered. They had thought humans were children of the stars, but now they saw something different. They saw a species that carried the weight of its past and turned it into power. They saw a people who could raise the dead and bind them to their will. They saw humanity not as prey, but as predator. The human delegate's eyes moved across the chamber, meeting every gaze, forcing every alien to look into his calm, unshaken face. We do not seek war, he continued. We do not seek conquest. But we will not bow. We will not be mocked. We will not be forgotten. When you look at us, you will see not weakness, but the roar of our legacy. And if you try to chain us, if you try to crush us, then you will hear that roar again, and it will not stop until the stars themselves fall silent. The silence that followed was crushing. No one dared to answer. No one dared to challenge him. Slowly, one by one, council members lowered their heads. Some out of fear, some out of shame, and some out of reluctant respect. Even the proudest among them could not deny what they had seen and heard. For the first time, the council did not laugh at humanity. They bowed to them. The horned alien finally broke the silence. His voice was low, almost respectful. The council mocked you, but it will not mock you again. You have shown us that your kind carries more than flesh and bone. You carry memory, will, and the power of your world itself. That is strength. That is survival. The human delegate nodded once, his expression unchanged. He did not gloat, he did not smile. He simply accepted the truth as it was. Remember this moment, he said. Because it will never be undone. The galaxy has changed. From this day forward, humanity will not be treated as children. We are not fragile. We are not weak. We are awake. His words hung in the air like a final judgment, heavy and unshakable. Then, from the shadows of the chamber, the transmission replayed once more, not by human hands, but by the council's own systems. The beast's roar thundered through the hall again, shaking the walls, rattling the tables, and filling every alien heart with a primal fear they could not deny. It was a reminder. It was a warning. It was the lesson carved into their memory forever. The aliens sat frozen as the sound faded into silence. They knew now that the galaxy would never return to what it was before. Humanity had claimed its place, not by begging, not by diplomacy, but by power. And though the beast was still locked deep in its chamber, though it had not yet left Earth, its shadow already stretched across the stars. The human delegate lowered his head slightly, not in respect, but as if to say the conversation was finished. Without waiting for permission, he turned and walked out of the chamber. No one stopped him. No one dared. As the doors closed behind him, the council sat in uneasy silence. They would write their reports, they would speak their words, but all of them knew the truth. The lesson had been given, and the lesson was clear. Humanity was no longer the weakest among them. Humanity was no longer a joke. Humanity was a storm waiting to rise, a predator among predators, and a species that would never again be mocked without consequence. On Earth, in the hidden laboratory, the beast stood silently, its golden eyes burning in the darkness. It breathed slowly, deeply, as if waiting for the command that would send it across the stars. The old man stood before it, his hands clasped behind his back, his face calm. He whispered softly, "The Council knows now. The galaxy knows. And soon, they will all understand what it means to face humanity." The beast let out a low growl, a sound like thunder rolling across a dead world. It was not rage. It was not hunger. It was patience. It was a promise. And somewhere deep in the silence of the stars, the galaxy listened, trembling, knowing that the age of mocking humanity was over.